Hello and welcome to another Excel tips video. I am Sumit Bansal, and in today's video I am going to show you 4 easy ways to quickly remove parentheses from a cell in Excel. So here I have these names and I have the state name within parentheses and I want to quickly remove it. So let me show you 4 ways to do this. One of the fastest ways to remove parentheses from a cell in Excel is by using a feature called flash fill. Now flash fill works by identifying a pattern. So you need to manually enter the result that you expect in one of the cells, and then when you run flash fill after that, it is going to understand the pattern and then follow it for the entire column. So let me show you how it works. First, I'm going to enter the result that I expect in cell B2. So I want the same text without the parentheses. So let me copy this, and you can manually enter this if you want and remove the parentheses. Now I've removed the parentheses from the text in cell B2 and now I have brought my cursor to cell B3. Now when I have the cursor in cell B3, I'm going to run flash fill by using the keyboard shortcut Control E. So I'm going to hold the Control key and press the E key. And as soon as I do that, it is going to fill this entire column and it is going to follow the same pattern that it identifies in cell B2. So here it was able to identify that everything is same except that the parentheses has been removed. So it followed the same pattern for all the cells. And this is my result. If you do not want to learn another keyboard shortcut for flash fill, you can also run it through the ribbon. So you go to the home tab and here in editing group, within fill dropdown, you have flash fill option. So again, enter the data manually in cell B2, bring your cursor to the next cell, and then you can come here and click on this flash fill icon so that it will also fill this entire column with the result. Now, one thing you need to know about flash fill is that it works by identifying the pattern. So in case it is not able to identify the pattern correctly, then in that case, what you can do is give at least 2 or 3 results so that it has more data to look at to identify the pattern, and then run flash fill. Again, hold the Control key, press the E key, and it is going to identify the pattern from the results that you have provided and fill the entire column using it. Another quick method you can use to remove parentheses is by using find and replace, where I'm going to find these parentheses characters, the opening and closing bracket, and remove them. So I'm going to first select this data set, then I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut Control H. So I'm going to hold the Control key and press the H key. And when I do that, it opens the find and replace dialog box. You can also do the same thing by going to the home tab and here in editing, click on find and select and then click on replace. So it is also going to open the find and replace dialog box. Now here in the find what field, I'm first going to identify and remove all the opening brackets. So I'm going to enter the opening parenthesis character, leave the replace with field blank, and then click on replace all. So what it does is it is going to find all these characters in all these cells and replace it with nothing, which is essentially removing it. So now when I click on replace all, see what happens? It makes 9 replacement and all these opening parenthesis characters are gone. Now I can go back again here, use the close parenthesis character, again click on replace all, and I'm done. So this is again very quick, very fast method, but because there are 2 characters, you will have to use find and replace twice to get rid of the parentheses. Another easy method you can use to remove parentheses in Excel is by using the substitute function. So here I have these names and I want to remove these parentheses. So I'm going to come here and enter a formula which would be substitute. Now substitute function takes 3 arguments: the text from which you want to remove the parentheses, the text that you want to remove, which would be the parenthesis character, and the new text would be what you want to remove it with, which would be a null character or a blank character. And I'm not going to use the 4th one because I don't need it here. So here, this is my text from which I want to remove the parentheses. I want to remove the parenthesis character. So I'm going to have it in double quotes and then I'm going to remove it with nothing. So I have double quotes, but I have nothing in it. So it's a null character. And now when I hit enter, it gives me this result where it has removed the starting character, the starting parenthesis character. But this is again not what I want. I want to remove the closing parenthesis character as well. So I'm going to add another substitute function to it. So I would come here, add another substitute function where this now becomes my text. So instead of this one, this becomes my text where the starting parenthesis character has already been removed. And now I come here and I would say, from this text, the result of this first substitute function, I want to remove the closing parenthesis character and replace it with nothing. And now when I hit enter, it gives me the result I want. You can come here, you can copy it down, and there you have it. Now, one good thing about this method is that in case anything changes in your original data, let's say instead of Florida, I make this New York, then this data would automatically update. So this is a good thing, but in case you do not want that, you do not want to keep the original data, you just want the results, then you cannot delete this, because if you try and you delete this, then it is going to give you an error because these are linked. So what you can do is come here, copy this, and then convert it into value. So again, right click, go to paste special, and here you come here and click on value. So when you do that, the formula is gone, and now you can come here and you can delete this column if you want. So you are only left with the result. And the final method that I want to show you is by using VBA. Now, when using VBA, you would have to do a little bit of a setup. So you would have to have the code, then you would have to go into the VBA editor in the backend in Excel. You would have to put that code there and then run the code. So while it takes a little bit more time than the other methods that I've shown you, once you have the code in place, you can reuse it. So let's say you have to remove parentheses from data in multiple sheets, then you can have the code in place, and then once it is there, you can run that code on each sheet with a click of a button or with a keyboard shortcut. So it's quite efficient if you need to do this quite often, or you need to do this on a daily or weekly basis. So let me show you how it works. Here I have this data from which I want to remove the parentheses, and I'm going to select this data. Then I'm going to go to the developer tab and click on the Visual Basic icon. And when I do that, it opens the VB editor. You can also use the keyboard shortcut Alt F11. So you hold the Alt key and press the F11 key. Now in the VB editor, on the left, we have the project explorer. And here I have all these sheet names and all the other objects in this workbook. So you can see that the workbook name RemoveParentheses.xlsx is mentioned here. Now I'm going to select any object here in this workbook, go to the insert option here, and then click on module. So what this is going to do is it is going to insert a module where I'm going to put my VBA code. So as soon as I do this, a new module is inserted, and here I have the code window. Now I have my VBA code here in a notepad, and I'm going to copy and paste it. I would also give you this VBA code in the description of this video, so you can copy and use it from there. So let me paste this code here. Now what this code does is it's very simple. Here we have made this selection. We have selected all these cells. It assigns this selection to a variable called range, RNG. And then it uses a for next loop to go through each cell in this selection. And within each cell, it is going to remove the opening parenthesis and closing parenthesis character using the replace function. And once it is done with it, it is going to stop the VBA code. So see what happens. I have the VBA code here. Now I want to run it. So to run the VBA code, you select any line of code in this code that I have here. And then you can either use the keyboard shortcut F5, or you can come here in the toolbar and click on this green button. And you can see it says run sub user form, and the keyboard shortcut is F5. See what happens as soon as I click on this, all these parentheses here would be gone. So I come here, I click on this green button, and you can see all these are gone. Now, this is not the only way to run the VBA code. If you want to run it once when you already have the module open, that is fine. But let me also show you a couple of other methods you can use to run the VBA code. But one thing before I go to those methods, remember that any changes that are done by the VBA code are irreversible. So now that I have the parentheses removed, I cannot use Control Z to get back my original data. The changes that are done by the VBA code will not be undone. Now, other methods you can use to run this code is, first of all, you can go to the developer tab and click on this macros option. If you do not see the developer tab, right click on any of these tabs, click on the customize option, and in the Excel options dialog box, make sure that this developer option is checked. And now when I click OK, this would appear if it was not there already. Now here, if I click on the macros icon, it is going to open this macro dialog box, which would list all the macros that I have. In this case, I only have one macro. And to run this macro, I can simply double click on this. Now, nothing would happen because I've already run this. But if I double click on this or click on this run button, it is going to run the macro. Another thing you can do is you can assign a keyboard shortcut to it. So if you go to the options button here, you can see it says Control plus. So I can assign a keyboard shortcut. Let's say I say Control Q. And now when I click OK, I would be able to use Control Q. So hold the Control key and press the Q key to run the VBA code instead of going back to the module, or instead of opening the macros dialog box. Another way you can run the macro is by adding the button to the macro in the quick access toolbar. So to do that, I'm going to come here in the quick access toolbar, click on this customize quick access toolbar icon, and then click on customize option. It again opens the Excel options dialog box. And here I'm going to come here and click on this popular commands drop down and then click on macros. And when I do that, it shows me all the macros that are there in this workbook. Now I would click on this and click on add. So this macro is now been added to the quick access toolbar. See what happens as soon as I click on OK, this is now added here in the quick access toolbar. Now if I come here and let's say I have a couple of parentheses that I want to remove, let's say, let me manually add a few. I would select this data, come here and just simply click on this. And as soon as I click on it, it is going to run the macro. So this is very efficient. If this is something you need to do quite often, you have the VBA code in place and you can run this macro by just clicking on this icon on any worksheet in this workbook. Now, if you want to run this macro on all your workbooks on your system, then you will have to save this macro in your personal macro workbook. So I would have a separate video and I would have a link of that video in the description where you can learn how to put the macro code in the personal macro workbook. Once you have the code in the personal macro workbook, you can run that code in any Excel file on your system. So these are 4 methods that you can use to quickly remove parentheses from the dataset in Excel. Personally, I prefer using the flash fill method because it is very fast, very quick and easy, but you can use any method based on what you prefer. You can use the formula method or the find and replace method or the VBA method in case this is something you need to do quite often. That's it in this video. I hope you found this useful. Also, if you're liking these videos, please subscribe to this YouTube channel and click on the bell icon so that you never miss out on any new Excel tips video I come up with. Thank you and have a nice day.